Good evening, one and all. Welcome along. It is season 4, episode 51. I'm joined by the Scottish Brotherhood tonight. We have Paul, we have Graham, and up in the top right-hand corner there, we have Arthur. How are we doing?
After them Cowboys. Let's go.
Oh, it was great. Even though I had a bad day yesterday, including a still game-esque Timpson shoes incident, and then I went to bed and I slept right through and missed it, but I've caught up on the game. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. And it's great to see the comments are flowing in. There were comments in before we even went live this evening. There are comments flowing in from everybody. So as always, folks, get your comments in. Let us know what you thought. Obviously, this is a great victory last night. We've 31-14. As Tim has said, we have finally slayed the Tom Brady dragon. We are 1-0 against Tom Brady. We are undefeated against Tom Brady in the playoffs. How does that feel?
Oh, finally we can actually get away from that stigma now. Not only just that though, Brian, the fact that we won on the road, in the playoff game. I think it was like more than 30 years or something like that since the last time we did it.
30 years to the day almost, I think Lauren said.
It's 29 years, 364 days. If it had been played today, that would be 30 years today.
That's crazy. And not only just that, we've got the stigma about the whole wearing the Navy jerseys away from home, etc., etc. So every one of those things that they use that is, it's like jinxed and stuff like that, we went out and we won. Hands down, we were the better team. Like that 2-minute offense in the second quarter was unbelievable. Like what a drive that was from Dak Prescott. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Graham, you're being very reserved. I feel like there's an explosion about to come out of you.
Graham still can't get over the fact what happened in the match of the day. I still can't believe that.
This is a family show, Paul. No, I just hope we can put the whole Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott thing to bed now. I think we're all fed up hearing that they need to move on from Dak. They need to move on from Mike McCarthy. It's. I just can't wait until Sean Payton gets hired by somebody, because that's the alternative to Mike McCarthy.
I don't want him.
No. I mean,
his playoff record is not any better than Mike McCarthy's.
No, exactly.
They're much of a muchness. McCarthy actually surpassed Payton earlier this year. And so they've got a similar record. They've both basically done it on the back of big QBs. So Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and you could say Dak's in that group now as well. You know, in that he's got them over the hump as well. So, but I can't. You know, the biggest loss potentially is the fact that we're maybe going to lose Dan Quinn this year. Because I think the Broncos, the only reason why the Broncos didn't sign him last year was the whole selling the team thing, and you want to have an offensive coordinator step into that role. Generally, if you're trying to sell a team, you want the offense to be the selling point of the league, and you know unless Dan Quinn decides that he is just a defensive coordinator and he that's his level, or Jerry breaks out the checkbook again, much like he does with Will McClay all the time. I think we're maybe losing Dan Quinn at some point. Would Sean
be a big
Payton
loss, but I would say the exact same about Eric Bieniemy in Kansas.
That's a great example, Graham. Great example.
I expected Bieniemy to be a head coach a couple of seasons ago, and then last season
should
it never
be a
happened.
head coach. The thing is, like Bellamy should be a head coach right now. He should be coaching someone right now, but he's happy being an OC for Kansas. So
yeah,
it could be the same factor for Dan Quinn. He maybe just be happy being DC. He knows where his gets the best out of players, not as a head coach, but maybe more so as a defensive corner. So he's going to be more level-headed in terms of he knows what he's better doing at.
Yeah. I mean, the other one as well, on the back of the loss last night, Byron Leftwich, who was a name the last couple of years for a head coach, talk is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to fire him. So, that seems to be throwing the toys out the pram almost. But
yeah. Look. You've kind of started talking about it, and Tim has a couple of comments. Do we lose our DC and OC now? And the most important one, those are some awesome hats, by the way. Thank you, Tim. We do appreciate you noticing.
Yeah, it's not mine, but it's definitely these two guys. That's for sure. This way, there we go.
But I mean, like, look, I've been watching, Good Morning Football. I watched Pro Football Talk today, and a lot of the talk from them is obviously you guys you've mentioned the point on Dan Quinn. They were also mentioning the point on Kellen Moore and trying to make light of the fact that are their heads going to be fully in the game for San Francisco at the weekend? I mean, I don't think you can question someone's professionalism. They're getting an opportunity to interview for a head coaching role.
Well,
why would they not do it?
If their heads aren't in the game for the 49ers, maybe that's a reason not to hire them as head coach.
Exactly.
If you go out and lose on the road, I mean, there are plenty of good head coaches, head coaching candidates still in the playoff fight. There's plenty of head coaching candidates that are now on a beach somewhere in Hawaii. So there's no reason to think that just because we beat Tampa Bay doesn't mean that we're going to lose both our offensive coordinators. Whether you want them to go or not is a different story. I think that I'm still quite surprised that Kellen Moore is in the conversation. I don't think he shows enough consistency.
Yep.
Our offense has fallen flat plenty of times this offseason, this entire season. So, until you can show consistency week in, week out, there are only 32 head coaching jobs in the world, and unless you can bring it every Sunday, I don't know if you're being considered.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the whole thing is Dan Quinn's doing a Zoom call on Friday with Denver, I believe, by all accounts. Kellen Moore's doing similar with Carolina. Actually doing a Zoom call is completely different to obviously getting on a flight. You're maybe on for half an hour to an hour. That's an excusable sort of absence, and it probably helps them in some respects. Takes their mind off what's coming up for a little bit, and actually in some of the discussions as to how you'd attack, some of the questions in the interview process might actually cause them to rethink some things as well for the game plan for this week as well.
I still don't like the ability to do that though.
Yeah.
Yes, it's on Zoom, and yes, it can be done in an hour and a half, and I get that, but it might be just my understanding of it. But for the longest time, you weren't allowed to talk to a coach that was still in the season.
Yep.
Now I get why they've got rid of it. I get that a team could get jumpy and want to hire somebody straight away, so they've got the month of January to think about the roster, but you've got 8 months to build your roster. You don't need to jump straight away.
Yeah. Not just that, Graham. Sorry to butt in, but not just that. Like, if you're planning bringing in a head coach, and especially for the long term, you do realize that first season is always going to be a rebuilding stage from the ground up. So I don't see why there is that pure rush to get them. I mean, obviously you do want to get your guy, but if you're really that desperate for the guy, then you obviously offer him the money when the season's actually over. So this whole interference while teams are still in the playoffs. I just find it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Is it not right that you're not allowed to talk to your players right now?
Something like
Under the
that.
CBA agreement, you're not allowed to talk to them until a certain point in March, I think it is.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even get, go and buy yourself Game Pass and watch all the teams with no head coach. You don't have to jump in straight away.
Yep.
I think the whole thing is because literally, after this weekend and after the championship weekend, you got the Senior Bowl, and you're straight into the whole scouting of players and everything like that, and then you've got to decide what you're doing in free agency. The sooner you can have the coaches in place, and they realise that having a coach in place brings in the sponsors, brings in to each team and all that. I think that's why the NFL's done it. And now that the technology is there that you can do the Zoom calls, it is fairly inobtrusive. It's just trying to speed the whole process up so that you're not going into free agency and you're going, wait a minute, what free agents do we need to hire if, oh wait a minute, we haven't even got a coach yet, and there's that side of things. So and then obviously, say with Kellen Moore at the moment, the only team that's come to him is Carolina. If as RJ's chart goes, that it's one lose one, win four, lose one, win two, and repeat. We're going to win the next four. If Carolina have already spoken to him and said, right, okay, we've got the contract in place, win the Super Bowl, Kellen Moore's getting 4 or 5 other teams contacting him and all that. Carolina have got in now, get it over and done with, and then get any speculation out of the way. I mean, I think that's the main thing as well. And it also, the whole thing, if you go back 30 years to the last time we won an away game and all, you've got who was it, Norv Turner and Dave Wanstead. They were all being courted during the Super Bowl week, the media week and all that. They were off having the contract talks then with potential new teams. So get that out of the way as soon as possible, or make it as unobtrusive as possible.
I mean, I'll paint you a scenario. What if Dan Quinn shows up to the Star on Thursday morning and says to his defense, to let you know, guys, I've just signed with the Broncos?
If anything, I think
it takes the air right out of the room.
It would, but at the same time, I think the players would kind of come together.
Yeah.
How much they love Dan Quinn, they'll rally up together and say, let's do it for Dan. Pretty much, they'll want to make sure that Dan gets a ring.
Like, it's for me, it's the, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the 30 for 30 about the 85 Bears and the conversation they had with Buddy Ryan the night before the Super Bowl. Now, I mean, there was no doubt the Bears were going to win. And literally, Buddy Ryan broke down in tears in front of them and didn't give them any kind of speech. He just said, you guys are my heroes. Walked out of the room, and they all knew. So I don't think Dan Quinn is going to do something like that. If he did, I don't think he'd say anything until the most optimal time. And maybe it is the most optimal time would be to say it on Saturday or Sunday. Because let's face it, and look, we won't try and get too far ahead of ourselves. Sunday's game could be the most important game we play this season.
I mean, if he wants to say it whilst the blue and silver confetti's falling in Arizona, then that's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Just so long as it's blue and silver.
Absolutely.
And sorry, the other thing I'm just thinking in terms of the Denver position, like they want to talk to Dan Quinn, they wanted Jim Harbaugh, they've wanted Sean Payton. Dan Quinn's interviewing this week. Jim Harbaugh said he's going back to Michigan.
Yeah, he's out. Yeah.
Sean Payton doesn't seem overly enamored with the role. So, I mean, is Dan Quinn really going to want to go into a situation where he knows he has no first-round pick this year? He is an aging quarterback who has played,
really bad.
Let's be honest, abysmally. He might know the quarterback, but he's played abysmally and is on the slide. It's not an ideal situation to go into. It's a hard sell for someone to take that Denver position.
Yeah.
Obviously, someone will take
at the
it.
top of the show, there's only 32 of them.
To me,
if one comes up, you have to kind of
see for me right now, like the way how Denver is right now, they remind me of what the Washington were a couple of years ago with the whole RG3 trade, like getting rid of all the picks. They basically put all their eggs in their basket on one certain player, and it's not worked out for them.
No,
like
they thought Wilson was going to be the final piece.
I think everybody did, because it was a big move. This as well. He's got Jerry Jeudy there, etc., and we were like thinking, it's like wow, like, but it's really turned out like Russell Wilson just is not playing well at all over there.
Yeah, like if you look at Seattle, look what they've done in the draft this year and their offensive line,
and not just that, a player that no one thought like would actually have a comeback story in Geno Smith. Who would have thought that? Yeah. No one.
Pete Carroll looks like a genius.
He does. He really does.
For that move.
And fair play to Seattle. Fair play to them. They really kind of... What's that scene from the movie Draft Day? I imagine their backroom staff is like, frisk them.
Yeah.
Face them. Take it all.
And I mean...
And some pancakes.
Even Seattle as well. I mean, Seattle took it to San Francisco this weekend for at least the first half.
Yeah,
you know, it was a close game, and I mean, I think I stayed up for a little bit longer. Was expecting to for that game, and you know, I thought oh, and then all of a sudden it just, you know, San Francisco pulled away, but you know they were in that game until halftime. You know, and the job that Pete Carroll's done. I mean, again, you know, the whole thing is knowing when you get rid of players because they're at their peak, or on the downward trend, and get as much as you can for them. And you know, this is the 2000s equivalent to the Herschel Walker trade and what they got out of Denver. I mean, it's
no, you're right. Yeah,
you're dead right. Just a couple of comments there in. So Tim is saying he thinks Sean Payton was holding out for the Dallas job. Maybe so, Tim. But I think Graham's nailed it.
I think he's already interviewed for the Houston job, so you know he'll still be staying within state. But
Mike McCarthy took all the pressure off himself on Sunday night.
Absolutely.
On Monday night, without a doubt.
Yeah.
He will be the head coach in 2023.
100%. Yep. 100%.
He certainly won't be appearing on Dancing with the Stars if you saw a video of him in the locker room with the chain.
I want one of those.
I'm telling you, that was the way I was walking into my work today. I think nearly everyone, I'm not trying to speak for everyone in Cowboys Nation, but I think that's how everyone walked into work today. Like, just like strutting along like Conor McGregor. Like, what's happening? You know.
No, Paul. What? Conor McGregor stole that off Jeff Heath. But again, Elizabeth joining in. Elizabeth has been a regular recently, and she's loving the hats as well. So thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, big shout out to everyone in the comments right now. Keep the comments coming in, guys. It's a good day. It's a good day to be a Cowboys fan.
It is. So if we let's just go over it again. Cowboys won 31-14 at Raymond James Stadium. The attendance was 69,500, or just over 69,000. The capacity of that stadium is 64,500.
Yeah, a lot of people are in the standing areas and stuff like that. I mean, we had guys who are good friends at the show that were at the game. There was J-Tuck that was there, and he's now looking to. He might be going to San Francisco as well, and get him over there. That's what I'm saying.
I was on to Jay Tuck. I was telling him where to stay and where to go, because the only game I've actually been to was in Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. So I used to have to go over there quite regularly for work. So I know the area quite well. So I passed on what bit of information I could to him.
Good stuff.
But again, look,
Tim's asked the question to Mike McCarthy sign through 2025.
Okay. Yeah.
He's going to be our head coach till the end of his contract, or he gets renewed. If the way how things are going right now, I don't think there should be any discussion talking about any other head coach right now. McCarthy's here to stay. We're back-to-back 12 wins a season. We've won our first away game in the playoffs in like almost 30 years. We beat the whole stigma, like I mentioned before, but the Navy jerseys. We beat Tom Brady finally. We've actually we're basically sending him on his way to the retirement home right now. And what more can we actually complain about? We can't complain about nothing. Dak balled out, played a fantastic game. Like, the only downward spiral you can really mention about the game is obviously the kicking situation, which we'll speak about later on.
Yeah. Yep. So, gentlemen, I'm just after seeing something pop up on Twitter. So the Indianapolis Colts have requested an interview with Dan Quinn as well. So
if that was their team that could be potentially favourites and more favourable for our head coach, and the Colts probably might be that one, because they do have some good pieces of the puzzle there.
Yeah,
already in place, like Quentin Nelson, the guard. They've got
Ryan Kelly.
Yeah, the running back Jonathan
Taylor and Michael Pittman.
Yeah,
they have a good team.
Yeah, and they've got a really good linebacker core there as well. So, I think if for any head coach right now, not just even Dan Quinn, but for any person that's a candidate, I think the Colts would probably be your best pick of the bunch right now, because I don't see that many people will be thrilled to go to Houston. I don't see many people being thrilled to go to Denver the way how they situated themselves with the whole Russell Wilson trade, etc. So, if anything, the Colts are probably your best team to go for if there is a vacancy there.
And I did hear earlier today that Brian Flores apparently is all but signed for the Arizona Cardinals position. So that's another one of them chalked off the block. So
I still think it's quite tough though to go from possibly the best defense in the league to a team with no quarterback.
That's the issue with the Colts.
Yeah. They're
quite a step down.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that they are going to have to draft a quarterback this year, or pick up a free agent, or trade for someone. Like,
they've had to draft a quarterback for the last 5 years since Luck retired. They've tried plasters at quarterback.
Yeah, Rivers, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz. I mean, those guys are former first rounders as well. Don't forget that as well. And it's just not really worked out. And maybe just down to the fact that how their offensive scheme just didn't suit the quarterbacks. So
do you remember we heard that chat for the longest time? Don't pay Dak the $40 million, just draft a quarterback. Go and ask the Colts. Go and ask the Colts how that's going.
Well,
just draft one. It's as easy as that.
Yeah.
And I mean, what was the stat that was doing the round last week? That is it 6 of the 7 quarterbacks in the AFC playoffs were first round picks, and only 1 of the 7 in the NFC was a first round pick.
Yep.
So if you want to do something in the AFC, you need a first round quarterback. And even at that, it doesn't guarantee anything. As we say, 99% of the quarterbacks who come into this league will never win a Super Bowl. So, buyer beware. But look, we're nearly half an hour into the show, and we haven't even gotten into the news and updates. So here we go. So news and updates, and I mean, I think this was the most important thing last night. Tyler Biadasz, Jonathan Hankins, and Leighton Van Der Esch returned for this game.
And
what an impact!
Oh my goodness! Especially can I start off with Tyre Bayadish? Wow. Yeah. Just wow. Like, don't get me wrong, he did have a little bit of trouble with Vita Vea in that first quarter, but as the game progressed, Vita Vea was a non-entity in that game. Zach Martin, and even Conor McGovern in the guard position really held him up something massively. And big props to the offensive line. Big props. And I don't know what the stat is, but I think at the top of my head, like it was very, very low pressures all throughout the game. Like all the pressures pretty much came from that first quarter.
It felt like Dak was able to hang in the pocket and choose his moments. I mean, he was flawless, and he was given the time to be flawless.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the big thing as well, okay, Zeke was held to 2 point something yards, but, you know, generally it was, we were averaging over 3 yards a carry, which is all you can ask for. You know, Dak was out there running around, but not being forced to run around. It was designed runs and everything. Other than Vita Vea's sack, that was the only time Dak was in it. Dak went down. You know, he was hurried a few times, but that was when they had to bring the blitz. And, you know, other than that, I mean, Dak had time to put the ball exactly where it was. I thought it was interesting the first couple of drives that we went 3 and out on. I think the game plan had been to give Dak as easy a throw as possible, and unfortunately he didn't complete those. But then, you know, he was making the hard throws, and, you know, thankfully receivers actually stepped up and helped them out as well. So, you know, you got production out of all the receivers. T.Y. Hilton, Michael Gallup showed up this week as well. I mean, you know, taking in high balls. CD Lamb getting yardage as well, and the schemes were all working as well. I mean, that CD Lamb touchdown was an absolute beauty as well, with just the way it was designed as well, and the way it busted open as well. That was great. So
and I mean, I think the one of the things we've been saying in the last couple of weeks in these post-game shows, and for me, like I was covering Twitter for the game against Washington last week, and I mean, it was the lack of any presence in the middle of the defense. You know, with Hankins not being there, obviously, and Van Der Esch not being in the middle. Like, Micah is Micah, and you just let Micah do what he needs to do. But Anthony Barr isn't a middle linebacker. He's more of a Sam.
Yeah.
So you have to allow him to be there. But, like, we haven't had that presence. And, I mean, when I was looking at pulling up Leighton's numbers, top tackler on the team, dropped into coverage and had 2 passes defended as well.
And made some really nice hits in that game as well. And just to kind of add on top of that as well, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but with LVE and Hankins back in there, we saw Donovan Wilson even amplified his game up in that game as well. So every player, like every piece of the puzzle really helped complements other players in different aspects of that defense. So we saw Mukwamo had a great game. Wilson had a great game. I mean, Anthony Barr did make some great tackles as well. Our defensive line did well, stopping Fournette. I mean, I think Fournette's stats was only 11 yards, 2.2 yards per carry, and his longest was only 6 yards. I mean, what more can we want? What a difference that was compared to week 1.
Yeah,
that's a complete 360. So, hell yeah.
And like Paul, as you always say with the defensive side of the ball, it's a chain. If the guys in the defensive line are not doing their job, pressurizes your linebackers and pressurizes your secondary in turn. So
everything's all interlinked. It's all interlinked. It's all interlinked, man. Like if you've got one player or one position that is very lacking, then it's going to affect other parts of that defense. And it seems like that game there, nearly every position was on fire. Not I wouldn't say on fire, but everyone was basically had that better communication and understanding. They knew their job, what they had to do, etc. So, I mean, it was just a great performance. Like, I mean, the 2 touchdowns we gave away, we slouched a little bit because, and there was a wee bit of a concern, like, are we kind of putting the foot off the gas a little bit here? But and overall perspective, we had a great game, defensively and offensively.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole you saw with the defensive secondary, the tactic had changed, and I talked about this on Thursday night that you needed to play more bump and run coverage and press coverage on these guys, because Brady threw the ball 66 or attempted passes 66 times in that game. They ran 78 plays, and they passed 66 times on that drive, or on that game. I mean, Brady must, despite the fact that he was getting hurried all the time, Brady will have woken up with a very sore arm this morning just from throwing the ball that many times. And as I said last week, by us, the only time that we actually gave up touchdowns and allowed them to move the ball down the field really was when we went to a sort of money, what they used to call the sort of money coverage, where you actually did play off. When you were up playing in their face, that was getting those guys rattled, because they would have done all of the game planning, seen that we normally play off, and right, okay, we run 5-yard slants and that'll be easy and everything like that. But because we were up in their faces, pressing them, that took away the timing for Brady. Brady was in getting pressurized by Parsons. I think the stats don't do Parsons credit for what he actually did in that game. And I mean, that drive where Brady was driving the ball down, even to get them into 1st and goal, the wee cheeky run out to the sideline and flip the ball to your running back who's standing down the sideline, get down to the 5-yard line. The next play, Micah bats the ball away. The play after that is an interception by Curse. If Tampa had scored there, I think we would have been talking a completely different game. The fact that we turned them away, drove down the field, got Dak's touchdown on the ground, that effectively sealed the game there. They got 2 touchdowns, but I mean, one of them was basically garbage time. Even though they got the onside kick back as well. I mean, yes, if there'd been more time left in the game, probably would have had a bit of the jiffy belly. But the rest of it, you were thinking, well, with 2 minutes left to go, there's no way can they come back and score three touchdowns to win. So.
Well, I've just run through the plays for Tampa in the second half. The Buccaneers ran the ball 5 times in the second half, the entire second half. And that's partly down to our offense, because they're going in there at 18 points behind. So they have to abandon the run if they've got any chance of catching that back up. So I feel like we have to compliment the offense as much as the defense. In fact, especially in that first half, they stood on the necks of the Buccaneers and did not let go.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yep.
And that is what you have to do against a Tom Brady team. You can't give them air. You have to put your foot down and leave it there and keep stamping. Because if you give him a chance, he will find a way. And they just didn't do it.
Speaking about Tom Brady, did anyone see the wee infographic that they did when they were in the red zone saying that Tom Brady was undefeated in terms of putting points on the board in the red zone and stuff like that, and had no turnovers and stuff like that? Then within the next 2 plays, he threw the interception.
On that, and they also said that was his first red zone interception as a Buccaneer.
Yeah.
I mean, that just shows how well it's been going and what a huge effort.
Like 400 possessions in the red zone since he'd last thrown an interception.
Yeah.
And I just have to pick up on this comment here. Tim, I think the word you're looking for is deflated, not degraded. But
Yeah.
Paul, we have.
Hey, listen, Kat, you're going to have to be. You need to start wearing your Leighton Van Der Esch jersey now. You need to get rid of that Tom Brady jersey now because that's you no longer a Bucks fan now.
Well, I mean, look, let's flip it over, and we do have a bit of a script, so let's talk offense.
Yep.
We're a bit giddy and all over the place tonight. I think we're just enjoying last night.
Yeah. Look,
enjoy the moment, lads. Enjoy the moment.
Yeah. Look, Graham, like, I mean, the deflation that was here last week after the Washington game and the deflation on Twitter during the Washington game, and everyone was saying, we're one and done, sack Mike McCarthy, get rid of everybody, get rid of the Joneses, get rid of Dak, get rid of Zeke. Everyone has to go. 8 days later.
It's what I always say about being a Cowboys fan. It can be frustrating, it can be elation, but it's never boring.
I would say, I'll be honest, I think it's more frustrating within ourselves because let's be honest, we've got the most diverse fans in the world where people are just not happy regardless how well Dak played or whatever, and that they just want to see the world burn. And like even if we win the Super Bowl, there'll be some of our own fan base. They'll be like just can't like grasp with the fact. Like there would still be. Sorry, I got a wee advert playing in the background there, but you get what I mean. Though it's just like you'll have fans out there that will be like, we won the Super Bowl, but that was terrible.
Why didn't you go the regular season undefeated then? You know, just
take
strips off them any opportunity they can.
Put up the 40 burger. Why is it not a 50 burger? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand, like, see for like the games that like when you look at the regular season, going back, like for example, the Jags game and the Texans game, two prime examples, games that on paper we should have won easily. Like on paper, we should have had a better team in terms of who we had and the roster, etc. And we didn't, like, even though we did win against the Texans, only just, but like the Jacksonville game, but you get what I mean though. Is that I can understand from that fan's perspective. It's like, but we just played so well against the Vikings. Yeah. We had an amazing fourth quarter against the Colts. Why can't we be, and it goes back to what you originally said there, Graham, is that consistency. It's the only thing that we've been saying all season. It's like we just don't have that consistency on this team. Yeah. And if we can just nail that, I would cash in my bloody house mortgage right now for the Super Bowl right now.
It can be quite frustrating when they just go for the obvious targets. The Joneses, McCarthy, or Dak, and sometimes it could be none of them. Mistakes can be made on defense, and nobody blames. I don't think anybody blames a particularly defensive player. You know, fair enough. Micah Parsons may not get a sack, or Trayvon Diggs might make a perfect, drop a perfect interception opportunity, but they don't get nearly as much heat as Dak does.
In fairness, though, Graham, 2 years ago, I was very heated about our defense.
Yeah.
Let's be say about that now, mate. I'll be honest.
Oh God, the flashback.
Oh man. How things have just completely switched rounds from the Nolan days. My goodness.
I missed Ontario Poe.
Right, come on. We'll leave that in the past, please. God, please.
But I mean, look, I'm going to go straight to Steve's comment here because look, this was the first point we had written down for our kind of script for tonight. Dak Prescott.
It's like I mentioned, like, see, for me, Brian, like, we won that game in that 2-minute drive in that second quarter. Like, that to me showed the drive from our whole offense that we were switched on that game. Like I can't remember the whole statistics, but it was just the way we were just putting the pressure on that Tampa defense, not giving up any pressures in that second quarter, well, in that 2-minute drive. And we just, it was just brilliant to watch. I was just sitting there watching the game, just kind of like that, really captivated. I'm like, man, it's like, why can't we just play like this every week? Why?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get. I mean, obviously in Arizona, it's going to be a completely different story. But Monday night, nation watching against Captain America and his half dozen or so rings, to go and play like that under the spotlight, it was simply incredible.
Don't forget, Graham, as well. Don't forget like the wide receiver core that Tampa Bay has. That Godwin, Jones, Evans, they've got a really good set of weapons for Brady to use, and you just couldn't do it. And they even brought back Ryan Jensen back in the game, and he had a lot of good success at one point, but he quickly faded as the game went on.
Yeah, you've got to remember also that.
Sorry, Lauren, you go.
Well, I was going to say, remember that largely this team is still the team from 2 years ago that won the Super Bowl as well. Give or take, you've lost pieces like Gronk and what have you, and obviously the offensive line has been decimated in recent years. But generally, the defense is much the same. This wasn't an easy game to play. And I think we'd kind of discussed last week again in the pregame show was the Redskins. Obviously Daboll going into week 18, Daboll had said, "Oh yeah, we're going to start our starters against the Eagles," and then suddenly came out and played the backups. I think we'd maybe, in some respects, our offense or our coaching staff had said, "Look, we're probably best rather than hosting a game, in the hope that you win the division, rather than hosting the game, let's go to Tampa, because if Tampa's the most likely, we're guaranteed to be going to Tampa." You could have had things could have worked out. Could have had Aaron Rodgers coming to Texas. You maybe wouldn't want that. And you saw more motion in this game that was equivalent to. You didn't see anything like that in the Commanders game. I think last week it was twofold. I think it was bad execution by the players last week, but I think it was a very vanilla game plan that had been put out by the coaching staff, both offensively and defensively. And I think some of that was, generally teams only look at your last 4 games. And if they look at the last 4 games, we basically, after we qualified for the playoffs straight away after losing that game to Jacksonville. We won against Philadelphia, we won against Tennessee, and we shat the bed against the Commanders. But basically we didn't really give anything away, and then you come out with a game plan like last night, and it takes your game plan can be perfect on paper, but you need the players executing as well. And I think the players executed last night, and that's the main thing as well.
Absolutely. I mean, just to add on top of that, I think that Washington game was more of a reality check, and it really woke them the hell up. It's like, we cannot play like that going into this game, and now it's playoff football. All things are like, all the chips are on the line. It's like there's no next game after that. It's do or die. And that's it. So, and when it comes to playoff football, you need to have that like that dog mentality. You need to be ruthless, and that's what we did. We went out there, we executed, we stuck to the game plan, and we played really, really well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll say about the Dak situation, if you had flipped performances and Tom Brady had played like Dak and the other way around, there would have been a meltdown on social media.
Oh God!
I didn't see the meltdown for Tom Brady.
Nope.
You know, like if you're taking it game by game situation, season by season situation, I don't see all the pitchforks and so on out to get rid of Tom Brady. But if Dak had turned in a performance like that on Monday night, it would have been Twitter meltdown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean the excuses we're seeing right now is like Lovie Smith, the head coach.
Byron Leftwich.
Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles.
I do apologize. Like Todd Bowles is like he shouldn't be the head coach. We're seeing like Tom Brady didn't have his offensive line. I'm sorry, but Dak didn't have a lot of his pieces of offensive line for a couple of years and still
injuries happen.
Injuries, exactly. It's all part of the game. So you need to deal with the cards that are dealt right in front of you. You need to make the most of it, and Brady didn't do it. So
yeah. I mean, as we said, look at the impact our three guys returning had. We didn't have them at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
But just to go back to what you were saying there a minute ago, Paul, you were saying, that we kind of limped into the playoffs. Look at last year. We came flying into the playoffs off of 250 burgers against Washington and against that other team.
Yep.
And we were destroyed.
Yep.
Destroyed by halftime.
Think we got it's like cockiness over excelled us. Like we got too confident and we paid the price. I mean, I'd rather, as of right now, I want all the mainstream media analysts to doubt us. I want every single one of them to put us on the back foot, because when we're on the back foot, we seem to bite back. So it seems to be what's going on, because nearly every game that we were supposed to lose this season, we came out and absolutely wiped the floor of them. So I'm so they're saying San Francisco are the favorites to win. Great, bring it on. That's what I'm saying. Bring it on, San Francisco. Bring it.
That's the impression I get when we're underdogs, the performance comes out. So write us off.
Yeah.
And if we make it to the championship game and play that team in the Northeast, then that'll be an even better situation for us.
Yeah.
Not
to get too far ahead of this show, obviously we have the pre-game show on Thursday. Let's not forget, it's a Kyle Shanahan offense against a Dan Quinn defense. Those two guys went to a Super Bowl together.
Yep.
So they're going to have to scheme against each other. Those guys know each other.
And there's more tape. There's more tape available on Brock Purdy now, and Brock Purdy has been good to go. What is he 6-0 now as a starter, including playoffs? But there's little things that are creaking into his game now that are little tells and things like that. Somebody of Dan Quinn's ability should be able to pick up on these and put us in the position. And I think the whole thing, it's bad when Dave Hellman can't actually go on his program and actually say that outright he expects a Cowboys victory. And obviously, I mean that probably lit a fire under the Cowboys as well. They'll have seen all the media, and that Dave Hellman's their biggest fan probably in terms of national media. And obviously there was that clip that we were all brought into this morning, and it was like he's saying, "Oh well, I can't guarantee it. I can't guarantee a victory. I don't know what team's going to turn up." Well, they sure turned up last night.
See, I was just about to say what Elizabeth just mentioned, is to bring Tim's comment back up. So I don't know if you guys remember. See that last playoff game last season with San Francisco. We had Trent Williams pure laughing at us, going back into his locker room after the game. I want Tyler Smith to do the exact same thing to the 49ers. Get in there, fans, and just like lay it back. It's like, revenge is sweet. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be going into the game thinking of revenge. I would be going into the game thinking about execution and doing things and being consistent.
Do the
if
Bill
you can get
Belichick
revenge as well, lovely.
Do the Bill Belichick saying, do your job.
Do your job. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I just did see a comment I wanted to pull up. It's from DJ Dog, just on Dak. Look, Dak carried the team yesterday. Every critic of Dak needs to realize that there's a lot of humble pie needs to be eaten.
Yep,
that has to be like the main saying we've had a lot this year is humble pie. Like from players that we didn't think that were going to be good for us drafting and stuff like that to criticizing from the media and stuff like that. Humble pie is like pretty much been the quote of the year for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it always helps when your franchise tag turns up in the playoffs.
I'm still.
Wow.
I'm telling you right now, I still do not see Dalton Schultz coming back. I've got my reasons behind that, but his stock is went up. Like if he enters the free agency market, he'll get offered more money than Jerry will offer him. That's a fact, easily.
Yeah.
He was quite simply incredible last night.
Yeah, you can blow that Njoku contract out the water.
I mean, 7 catches, 95 yards with an average of 13.6 with 2 touchdowns, and his longest was 26 yards. That is a good start for a tight end.
He dropped the ball once.
Yeah.
All game.
8 targets. 7 out of 8. Yep.
And I know I put this in. Did you see the block he went to throw on Dak's touchdown?
Yes.
he sent the Bucks defensive back rewinding as quick as he could. It was like, and your man just went backwards. No, I'm not going near that.
And it was good to see that Kellen Moore's still bitter about that Broncos game because it was the exact same play.
Yeah,
let everybody eat it up the middle. QB keeper around the corner.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was really skeptical going for that in 4th down, and Dad just basically bootlegged it into the end zone there. Like I was just like, well, I'm certainly going to keep my mouth shut.
So was Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman said the exact same thing. I would take the 3 points here, and then Dak literally just trundled.
Oh
man.
I mean, look. Again, I know it's a question more for the off season, but Joe is bringing it up. He said, Joe here. So Jerry would be an idiot not to sign Schultz. He's a great connection with Dak. I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I can see it coming back, but I've also seen Dak make a connection with Jake Ferguson.
He's my new favorite guy right now, Jake.
Yeah,
Ferguson.
And GMs around the league have short memories. And if Dalton Schultz averages 60, 70 yards a game with a touchdown, with a couple of drops, they're going to forget about the form in September, October, November. They're only going to see what happens in January. And like you guys are saying, I completely agree. I like the Hendershot and Ferguson options. It would be so tempting just to let them blossom. Yes, the guy had a good game last night, but so did Dak. And if Schultz isn't his first read, then Lamb might have been his first read, or Michael Gallup might have been his first read, or he could have gone to Ferguson a little bit more. But Schultz turned it on and he managed it. But that's not to say somebody else couldn't. I know we're getting a bit carried away, but you don't hand out $10 million a year contracts on one playoff game.
Yeah, it's true. Just to mention what Tim just mentioned his last comment about the NFC teams there. It's like, let's just not remember as well, there was and I'm gonna throw credit to the whole division as much as it hates me to do this, but Washington screwed the pooch in this one. There could have been 4. The whole division could have been in the playoffs this year. And it just shows you it's no longer the NFC least, it's now the NFC beast.
First time that 3 teams have made the divisional round from the same division since 97.
That's crazy.
And that was also the NFC East.
Yeah.
But just kind of going back to that Dalton Schultz chat for a minute. And I mean, look, I don't think he's coming back because we've kind of, I said, like, we've CeeDee Lamb, we've Trayvon Diggs, Mike Parsons, all those deals are coming.
Yeah.
And another guy we now have to throw into the conversation, and just to kind of bring it on to the next section, Tyler Biadasz is going to have to get a new contract.
And don't forget LVE as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get to LVE on the defensive side
I
as
mean,
well.
I mean, over the cap have already rolled over onto 2023, and you'll see that we're in a negative position at the moment. We've only got 43 players under contract as well, so you got at least 10 more you've got to sign, let alone your practice squad as well, and that's going to be difficult. Now you're hoping that you'll get, potentially, if we take this as far as we do, you might get a few players retiring, and then you can claim their bonuses back and all that sort of stuff. Bring yourself under there, but you're going to have some hard decisions to make in the next couple of months anyway, let alone to bring in new talent as well.
Yeah.
So,
are you guys still seeing the heat for Zeke Elliott's contract?
I'm not.
I don't know how many times on Twitter I commented, Zeke will be the starter next season. Because like Lauren says, we're already in minus, and we cannot go and afford to eat, is it $11 million to get rid of Zeke Elliott? We simply cannot do it. I get Tony Pollard got 50 more yards, but again, they're two completely different types of running back, asked to do two completely different types
jobs.
of things.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they can't go out third round, fourth round, pick up a change of pace back to replace Tony Pollard, because I don't know about you guys, but the way he's turning it on just now, I'm resigned to losing Tony Pollard, and it's a shame. Yeah. But Zeke Elliott will be the starter of the Dallas Cowboys next season without a shadow of doubt.
Yeah. Just to add on top of what you're saying there, Graham, I mean, like, Zeke is definitely more developed into that powerhouse running back. Yeah. Like, he's the one that's going to lay down the smackdown on the linebackers. He's the one that's going to wear them down, get all those dirty yards regardless, and it's going to wear the defenses down. I mean, he put Levante David in his backside, for goodness sake. I mean, who does that? Zeke does. But once you've actually put your effect with Zeke in there, Pollard's there to pick up the pieces, and he makes up the more TV big play type of thing. So, but they all complement each other. It's all complementary football. And I'm sorry, but I'm hearing quite a lot about rustling now.
I mean, it reminds me, the Zeke and Tony Pollard thing reminds me of the USC Thunder and Lightning, Reggie Bush and Lendale White. You have to have a guy who's a thumper, and then which is Zeke, and then you have to have a guy like Tony Pollard who's just going to go through holes and has that explosion. And I'm not convinced we're going to pick up a running back this year, because I think we might have our next Tony Pollard in the building already.
I was just about to say something similar, that Malik Davis seems to be the heir apparent there, so he's certainly, when he's shown when he's had chances in the running game the last couple of weeks as well. So
yeah, and DJ Dog is kind of backing us up there in terms of the Zeke contract. That everyone wants to downgrade Zeke, but I mean, it wasn't 3 games ago that Zeke had 9 games and 9 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
that's what
the most important thing is putting it in the end zone, and Zeke gets you that.
I mean, that alone is like, people can't tend to forget about Zeke. They really do.
Yeah. Graham, talk to us about the O-line.
I mean, I was ready to eat my September words for dessert last night, because it was almost flawless. I mean, that front seven from the Buccaneers is the main reason why they're in the playoffs. It's not the offense; it's that front seven doing game-winning things. And I was concerned about Biadish. I was concerned about left tackle. But the addition of Jason Peters, the ascendancy of Conor McGovern, of Tyler Biadish, the pickup of Tyler Smith. Tyron Smith has come back at the right time and looks as if he's been there all off season. It's superb, and it just, like I said at the start, it's given Dak time to feel like he didn't have to force things. He didn't have to. I mean, he did bootleg a couple of times, and he did. Was it seven carries, 24 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah,
it's all part of a very well-oiled cog that clicked very, very well last night. I mean, it does have. I mean, we're trying to forget about the Redskins game. It does have its down times, but last night it was just amazing to watch. Yeah, we're in a good place. Possibly getting a little bit old in certain areas. They could maybe supplement it again. This is a conversation for another time, but it depends if there's going to be a tackle or a guard at 32.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I did there?
Because that's the question. That's the question I was going to ask, Graham. Because Jason Peters might not be back next year. Conor McGovern, I don't think will be back next year. He's out of contract. So we might have to address the O-line again with the first round pick this year.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think you need to build strength on strength.
Absolutely.
And the strength of this team is the O-line.
But I don't know if we're going to have to do it with McGovern. I don't think there's going to be a market for McGovern. Yes, he's playing particularly well. It's not Pro Bowl level, but it's enough. If you can get your cornerstone pieces, your tackle, your center. Zach Martin obviously is who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So long as you've not got a kink in the chain, so long as it's not going to collapse in certain areas, you've got the makings of a good unit. I mean, can you guys see somebody breaking the bank for Conor McGovern? I don't know, but I didn't see the Dolphins handing out huge money to Williams either.
That's my comeback to you. Is we didn't expect Connor Williams to go elsewhere.
Exactly. Exactly.
You could say the same when who was it? Jeremy Parnell went off to Jaguars as well a few years back. That he signed a massive contract and he was a backup for us. Yeah. Until the last 4 or 5 games of that season, so it is. There will always be, there is a dearth of quality offensive linemen around the league, and this is why some of these spring leagues, the USFL, the XFL, don't work. Is that the skill players don't get the time to perform because the offensive lines are generally pretty piss poor. And that's why you're starting to see some hellishly high contracts for offensive linemen that you wouldn't really give a passing grade to. I think Conor McGovern will be sought after, and I think there was talk that we were in discussions with him in December.
I think there's enough tape on him though. He's not been the starter very long.
I think there's enough. If you get a season's worth of tape, and he has been healthy this year, he's not missed anything. You've now seen him play in 2 possessions as well. And he had a fairly good game. The game where Biadish went out, but he wasn't great in the Commanders game. But that's showing tape that he can snap the ball, and again that's versatility, which is something that people are going to pay for as well. So,
to go back to your original question, Brian, that you guys all have noticed it as well. the lack of holding calls has vastly improved this season, and it's paying off just now, because I mean, we all know a holding call can kill a drive, and I couldn't tell you the last. I mean, is it maybe one a game? I don't know. I just don't remember many.
Well, I mean, penalties in general. I've been down this year for our team, which, we opened the season with 11 penalties in that first Tampa game, and we were all, Mike McCarthy had expressed this off-season that we were going to crack down on penalties, and that didn't appear to be the case after week one. I mean, we only gave up 2 penalties yesterday for, what was it, 15 yards?
15 yards.
Yeah.
They had 3 penalties. I think generally, when you get to playoffs, generally the calls aren't there, and the refs tend to let the game play, let the game flow. But certainly, there was also, I mean, if you go back to Tyler, who was it? Travis Frederick once said that the Cowboys offensive linemen got picked on all the time. There seemed to be an unwritten rule within the league that you pick on the Cowboys offensive line for holding. That seems to have thankfully moved away. We don't have that anymore. But Joe Philbin has done a great job this year. And again, we all went into this off season. We were saying, Joe Philbin shouldn't have a job. Again, I think he's answered his critics as well. So this offensive line, if we can keep the majority of it together, I think Brian's right. We do need to invest some top quality talent in the draft into it. Maybe not your first round pick, but if we can get somebody good in the second or third, that's where you're looking at it.
I'm literally just looking at the Fanspeak website, which is the one I kind of use for drafting, and offensive tackle, guard, center. It's not a great class this year. Now, look, as Paul always says, the draft is a lottery.
It is.
So just because it says it's not a great class doesn't mean you're not going to get 10 future Hall of Famers from this class.
Yeah.
It's just how they turn out in the pros.
I'm just going to throw this in there, right? We talked about Conor McGovern just there, right? I want to bring him back, right? And the reason that I'm saying that is we saw the transformation with Terrence Steele under Duke Manyweather, right? And we're seeing now McGovern being utilised more in the singular position, playing at left guard, and we saw his development go. So what I'm trying to say is like, get him signed him for another 2-year contract or whatever, and let's see how his development even continues to grow. Just keep him at left guard, keep him there, don't shift him about. That's it. I think, because we saw the transformation with Terrence Steele this season before the injury, and it's clearly showing that it's the level of consistency with the hard work in the offseason as well. So I think to do that with Conor McGovern and bring him back, I think we might not necessarily need to worry as much. That's just a wee opinion of mine, but I could be wrong. But I'm just thinking it could be a blessing in disguise, really.
Yeah. I'm going to play devil's advocate with you though, Paul, right? Because here's the issue. Terrence Steele is also not under contract for next year either.
Yeah, he's going to have to get renewed. He's getting renewed.
Yeah, if you're renewing Terrence Steele, the money is probably not there to get McGovern back as well, especially if you want Biadasz, who has made me eat a lot of crow this year with his performances. If you want him under contract as well, you have to let McGovern go. There's only limited resources available. As bad as
this is going to sound, I'm glad the injury happened to Steele, because if he was to still play balls out the way he is at right tackle, what he's done this whole season, Like his contract would have been worth even more if we were to try and re-sign him. So we may actually still have a wee bit of a more of a bargaining chip here when it comes to re-signing Terence Steele.
Yeah.
The other good thing about Steele is Steele's a restricted free agent, so he's not full free agent. So you can levy a simple first, second, or general tariff on him. You get him for good money. Try and then it is a 1-year deal, but then try and sign him for a couple of years as well as an extension on that. And do it that way, which is still going to be relatively more cheaper than actually bringing somebody in from outside the organization.
Absolutely.
The other benefit, as Paul says, these guys are working with Duke Manyweather. Duke Manyweather is already working with the guys that are going to be turning pro at the moment. So if you watch his Instagram posts at the moment, you get an idea of who's there. If I'm one of the Cowboys scouting staff, I'm taking my lunch break and walking over to Baylor Scott and White and seeing what's going on in there as well. Because that's where they work out. So you see what they're doing and see the progression that these guys are making as well. So you got advanced scouting on these guys for, because again, you go back to the draft this year and everybody thought we were going to be a laughingstock with Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith has
how wrong we are. Because we even criticized the pick. We thought, we even thought Tyler Smith, is he really a first round talent? Yes, he is. He is now. Like he's now just been put into the all rookie team this year. So,
I mean, I'm just the other quote. I can see this here from DJ Dog. He's mentioned Matt Waletsko. Obviously, he's redshirted effectively this season. Josh Ball is still there.
He's gone.
He's done. I think. And who is the other offensive lineman we drafted in that class with Josh Ball? Name is escaping me at the minute.
What, from last year?
Yeah.
Good question. I cannot think at the top
Farniok.
of my head. Farniok. Yeah,
all right. So there are guys there, and as I say, you're just gonna have to you are going to have to decide what you want to do with those resources. As we say, like if I'm signing players, for me, Tyler Biadasz is my first port of call. Then I'm moving on to Terence Steele.
Yeah,
I'm happy enough for McGovern to go and play somewhere and see what you have in the three of Farniok, Ball, let's go. Aviantik Hollins has been hanging around for the last 2 years on the practice squad. Is there something there with that guy?
Don't forget Isaac Aracon as well.
Yep.
I think because even during a pre-season, like when we saw the glimpses of him, it's like he does have the potential to actually play in the league, and he's shown that. Even though he might love the cake, but he can actually throw some pancakes out there in the field. See what I did there?
Every lineman is entitled to enjoy the cake.
Absolutely.
I want to try that cake.
I want the cake.
So look, I think we've kind of covered off everything in terms of the offensive side of the ball. So is there anything else you want to discuss, or shall we move on to the defense?
I think I'm pretty good actually, because we've covered pretty much everything. Dad balled out, Dalton played balls out, CeeDee Lamb looked great. Our running game was effective. Like, we may not have the biggest stats in the world, but we wore down that Tampa Bay defense. Yeah, it was just a nice clerical performance from our offense. So yeah, all good.
The one thing I will say on the O-line conversation, if they move on from Tyler Smith, it frees up $9.5 million in cap space. That's Terence Steele.
Yep.
Tyler Smith.
Tyron. I think you mean Tyron.
Did I say Tyler?
Tyron.
Yes.
Tyron.
I was like, what? What did you say?
Tyron
Do that
Smith's
to us,
capped over
G.
17 million.
Yeah.
So if they move on from him, that's 9.5 to get Steele done.
And if, look, again, we're not trying to get too far ahead. If things play out the way we would hope they play out, I think Tyron would quite happily take it and walk away and have his health.
I've honestly, if we were to go all the way this year and win the Super Bowl, I think Tyler will be like, "Yep, I've done what I've set out to do. I don't have to worry. I can now focus on my health and move on to different ventures and stuff like that." So, but yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Start working on his speech for Canton.
100%. 100% he should be doing that.
Hi, man. Zach Martin.
Yep.
Well, Paul, do you want to give the quote from last week?
What was it? I forgot.
Zach Martin, in 9 seasons in the league, has been to the All-Pro 8 times. He has had 7 holding penalties in those 9 years.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. Yeah. It's just a crazy statistic that it's like for a guy who's been in the league for so long and he's had more All-Pro nominations and votes and stuff like that than he has holding calls. That is just a crazy statistic. I don't think there's been any other offensive lineman that's had that type of pedigree of success. Like, don't get me wrong, like the only thing missing in Zach Martin's trophy room is actually the Super Bowl ring. That's it. Other than that, he's achieved greatness for the Dallas Cowboys and within the NFL as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, the only comparable player to Zach Martin in the NFL is Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, for the Colts, yeah. I agree. Yeah.
I would move heaven and earth to get Quentin Nelson as our left guard.
Oh, can you imagine? Could you imagine? Oh my goodness!
Let's not forget the article that myself, Graham, and Rich wrote up over the summer, and how we got Quentin Nelson in as our left guard.
I don't know if I did.
Oh, you did.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, but look, we're nearly an hour and 20 minutes into the show. Michael will start throwing kittens and canaries at us, so let's talk.
Yeah, Mike is going to kill us for another nearly 2-hour episode at this rate.
Yep. Well, we did preempt it this morning. We did say it was going to be a 2-hour episode, so Mike should be ready for it.
Hashtag you have been warned.
But Paul, you alluded to it already. Leighton Vander Esch. Again, I think there's a guy who deserves a contract. Again, we're talking limited resources, but talk about the impact he had last night.
Leighton Vander Esch has been one of those players that is not making the big plays out there, but he is all over the field. He's there within the trenches, stopping the run and dropping back into coverage. Did you see how many times he dropped back into coverage, making some really crucial plays? Like two. Like, he was phenomenal last night. Leighton Vander Esch deserves a new contract right now. Like, I'm worried right now that the fact that we might end up losing him now because obviously we gave him that 1-year contract. It saved us a lot of money this year, but that might come back to bite us for next year. We might end up losing him, but LVE has been playing absolutely fantastic. Like, he's been called the Wolf Hunter for a reason. He's been playing like a hungry wolf out there. You've got the Lion and Micah Parsons, and you've got the actual wolf and Leighton Vander Esch. You get him, keep him here, give him an extended contract. I don't care. Like, I want LVE to stay as a Dallas Cowboy. I really do.
And it's not just what he does on the field in terms of his own play as well. It's getting players in position, making the little adjustments for them, telling Damone Clark to do this, do that.
Yes.
You know, we pointed out in the Commanders game that, you know, without LVE, Damone Clark had gone back as a Tampa 2 linebacker on a run play, you know, things like that. picking up the keys. I mean, he has taken on that Sean Lee mantle, to take over this defense. And by God, he ranks up there. I mean, 55, Leroy Jordan, guys like that, Bob Brunig, he is that sort of guy. I think, the only downside on him is his injury history. But by all means, I'd bring him back.
Just to add on top of that as well, it's like with LVE, like I was going to say something there, I completely forgot. Just a wee brain fart there. But basically, like, my point is, like, when I was talking about the pieces of the puzzle within the defense, when you've got that one certain player come out, all the other players feel a little bit dysfunctional. When LVE came back in, and Hankins as well, we'll talk about Hankins in a wee moment, but when LVE's in there, we are more organized. All the other players are more in sync. They're more contributing as a unit, like from D-line to linebacker and to secondary. Like every player has a role, and it's a connection string within the whole unit of the defense as a whole. And we're seeing that with LVE this year. Like LVE has been holding all the, like, I don't know how to describe it, but basically he's the guy in the middle and all the strings are attached to him. So when he's not there, it's a wee bit more not chaotic, but there's a bit of a lost for thought. And we saw that against Washington last week. So, whereas this week, when LVE's back, we noticed everyone seems to be, right, okay, I know what you're doing. I know what this guy's doing. I know what I'm doing. And they stuck to their role. They were doing their job. The whole Bill Belichick speech. I mean, what more can we say?
Yep.
Graham, give us your thoughts.
I mean, he's not the flash player as we're saying, but if you can put somebody in there, I just caught up with that one.
So for all audio listeners, to be fair to Jalen Smith, he actually played a really good game for the Giants against the Vikings. He actually looked all right, to be fair. He's not elbow dropping anybody, but he actually played a good game.
Go on, G.
Just without Van Der Esch, your linebacker core gets very, very young very quickly. Again, with the whole contract extension thing, yes, I would like to keep him, but I don't know if I'm going to compete to keep him. Like if he was to sign another 2-3 year extension on the same money, then absolutely. But are you going to go $8, $9, $10 million? I'm not sure.
No.
And again, it all depends on if somebody's taking a shine to him and likes the look of him. Because again, there's bigger fish to fry and keep than Leighton Van Der Esch, but he's playing really, really well, and you can notice when he's not on the field. But again, he's just one of these off-season question marks. But right now, he is the difference in the linebacker room.
Just to add one more on top of what you're saying there, Graham, like in terms of LVE, the likes of the contract and stuff like that. Yeah, like we have the best advantage of having LVE right now because we know his medical history in more detail. If he was to go to some other team, they're going to be much less informed of the more intricate details of the medical records and stuff like that. So we've got advantage. We know how to fix LVE and get him back on the field and get him playing efficiently. If he was to go to another team, he might not be that as effective. Like, I mean, and I keep using this reference right now, like, and he's not injured, but he was actually, is Randy Gregory for the Broncos. Like, we had Gregory's best intentions to try, like, whenever he was on the field, he always played really well. But since he's went to the other team, he's not really been that player that we were willing to pay stupid money for. So I think in a way for us, we have the advantage of actually giving them probably much more money, because teams will kind of still be a wee bit skeptical signing a player with that neck injury and like that history and stuff like that. But we know our was it Stephen Jones says we love our guys, we know our guys type of thing, and it's kind of true when you kind of look in that perspective. So the advantage is on us. The advantage is on LVE to get more money from Dallas than possibly than any other team right now. So
yeah, the Joneses have certainly dodged a bullet with Randy Gregory. I mean, if he'd stayed in Dallas for that money and turned in those kind of numbers, the fan base wouldn't have let the Joneses forget it. You know, like he's just not had. I mean, whether it's a different system, different teammates, different
lifestyle.
Yeah. Whether that's just not suited him or not, I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of Broncos football for obvious reasons, but they've dodged a bullet with that one.
Yep.
And we were so irate about the whole situation when we didn't sign him. But again, it just shows that the front office do really know what they are doing. And I'm now always going to be like, you're always going to have your automatic responses like, why did we not sign him? But I'm now going to be in that perspective now where, okay, right, front office has done that. I'm going to give it time, then kind of see how it transpires now. And as things have transpired as the season go along, the front office have got nearly everything spot on, from drafting Tyler Smith, letting Randy Gregory go, letting Amari Cooper go, which I never thought I would ever say that, but it's true.
Yeah,
it really is true. Like, I thought we would have struggled without Amari Cooper, but no, we haven't.
So I just have another little bit of breaking news in regards to Dancing with the Stars for the US for this upcoming off season. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy on the body movement sequence he displayed in the locker room following Monday's playoff win. I was kind of stuck between a breakdance and a gritty.
Wow.
I think he did all right picking the breakdance.
If they beat the 49ers on Sunday, you can break out the robot for all I care.
No. Mike McCarthy has to do the worm if that's the case.
But to go back to Van Der Esch for one more minute. I mean, I'm reminded of Hard Knocks and Malcolm Rodriguez, undrafted. And he finishes the season as a starter. So it can be done. It can be done. And on my opinion, it's easier to find those kind of non-ball position, ball skill players. I mean, this Rodriguez came in with. I mean, we've all seen Hard Knocks. He came in with the effort, won the starter's job from day one. It would be nice to find somebody that we didn't feel like we had to compete to keep Van Der Esch. I don't want to be downhearted on the guy. He's playing really, really well. And if somebody wants to offer him $10 million to go and play somewhere else, then that's great. And we'll wish him all the best. But I'm still not competing to keep him. I think we've got, like you said at the start of the show, Brian, we have bigger fish to fry. And the linebacker position, I think, can be massaged into
like you kind of mentioned there, there's players later on in the draft, and like we keep seeing here, UK Cowboys, the draft is a lottery. Like, we picked up Damone Clark very late on in the draft, a guy that we never expected to play a single game this season, came in and he's actually played some really good football. So what means to say, like, for next year's draft or even free agency, players that didn't want might fit our system a lot better and become those starters. So, I mean, take Jaron Kearse a couple of years ago. Not many people were chasing after him until we signed him. So,
don't forget, Devin Harper has redshirted this season. Devin Harper is a very, very solid linebacker. I believe, and look, I'm open to being corrected here, I think he's also an Oklahoma State poke would have played with Malcolm Rodriguez.
Yep.
Two very good linebackers in tandem. I'm open to being corrected if anyone knows better on that, but I think they did play together at Oklahoma State. So there are guys there, as we say. You've Damone Clark, Devin Harper. I still hold out hope that Jabril Cox is going to do something, but it's an uphill struggle for him with those two guys there as well.
Yeah, I think Jabril Cox is kind of, and that not as a more controversial discussion as Kelvin Joseph is, but I really am fine. I think it's going to be really hard for Jabril if we were to bring other linebackers in for next year. Some point in the draft and stuff. I think it's going to be very hard for Jabril to compete against that now. I really do. I really want Jabril to really be that guy why we drafted him, but it's just not. It seems to really struggle not to get on the field right now, which is just it's a concern. It's a concern.
Did he flash at the start? Did he play well at the very start?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
And it just kind of derailed, didn't it?
Yeah.
Just before you move on, I've got a great question from Elizabeth. I know we're talking about defense here, but she just asked us, what do you guys think about Jason Peters becoming part of the coaching staff?
I would certainly welcome that. I mean, the job he has done on Tyler Smith, if we are talking about going younger in the draft and bringing new guys in, then you need somebody like that. Somebody like Mark Colombo from a couple of years ago as well. You know, you need that. And then to bring it back to the defense as well, and to almost bring it full circle as well, one of the people who could be competing for LVE would be if we lose a certain defensive coordinator as a head coach. I'm sure that would be somebody he'd be willing to pick up as well. So that's a potential landing spot.
Possibly, very much so. The other guy who returned on Sunday night, and you can see the stats going through the screen for defensive tackle, Jonathan Hankins, 2 tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss, quarterback hit. Yep. That's not numbers that a defensive tackle normally puts up.
Normally they're just there.
Impacted that game.
Normally a guy for Jonathan Hankins, he's there to eat up the blocks. Which he did, but he contributed more than that. He put Brady in the back foot, forced the offensive lineman, put Ryan Jensen back beyond the line of scrimmage several times in that game. And Ryan Jensen's a great player, no question about it. And Hankins came in and he was, what a comeback for him. He come back in that game.
Didn't Jensen get a personal foul?
Yes.
He should have got 2 for shoving Micah Parsons.
Yep.
Jensen got rattled.
Yeah.
I mean, Jensen probably shouldn't have been playing. I mean, he'd literally not done anything all season. Was literally activated the day before the game off IR because he's been on IR the whole season. And you're expecting in your first game back to be all pro or whatever, but that wasn't going to happen. But the big thing that Hankins did as well is eating up those blocks. You saw Tampa Bay were trying to do what they did in that first game and run to the outside.
Yeah.
They were putting pressure on Diggs and trying to get Diggs to come up and tackle. And Diggs is again proved that he's more of a Deion Sanders type cornerback. He's not going to come up and make tackles unless he really has to. But because Hankins was taking up blocks, it was allowing guys like Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons was playing at linebacker more often than not. It was allowing him to get in the backfield and pursue the ball down the line and sweep it up that way. And that I think it was the first play that they ran. They tried that, and Micah Parsons swept down the line, got a tackle for loss because again Hankins was taking the double team, and the tackle lost him as well. So Parsons was all over the field last night. The stats don't necessarily say it, but Parsons was back to his best last night, and I think it was because we were playing him in all sorts of positions. We weren't just playing him as a defensive end. We were lining him up, and it was almost a case of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were having to line up and go, it was almost like, where's Wally? That, it was, where's Micah? Is he there? Is he there? Is he there?
Even RJ picked up on it on Twitter. He said that Parsons finally got one of his holding calls.
Yeah,
it just happens so much.
not only just that, he got his revenge on Leonard Fournette. He got his revenge on him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like Fournette, obviously, right after the game in week 1, posted the whole meme tweet of the Michael Jordan crying meme to Micah Parsons, and but you saw, like, in that play in particular, he was playing in the middle. He was positioned as the middle linebacker, going through that B gap. I think it was it was either the A gap or B gap, but coming down the middle, and I don't know what Fournette was trying to basically like cut block him, and Parsons like, nope, not today. Bye.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in doing so, effectively shut down the running game.
Oh yeah. Let me just read out the stats again for the whole Russian team. So 12 carries in total, 52 yards, 4.3 average. Rashad White, 41 yards, 5.9 average, and 7 carries. Leonard Fournette, 5 carries, 11 yards. 11 yards.
I think they abandoned the run too quickly, the Buccaneers, because people who don't watch the game know that the big deficit on the Cowboys is the run defense, and for the Buccaneers to move away from that simply, I don't know if it was purely down to the scoreline, but 18 points is quite a mountain to climb. So you straight away you think, they've moved away from the run game. But Leonard Fournette was he was a non-entity, really, wasn't he? 5 carries and 1 catch. That's
T. Jacksonville against the Chargers,
Chargers. Yeah.
Yeah, like you saw Peterson kind of more given, despite Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence throwing those picks so early on in the game, and 4 interceptions in the first half, and come back and win the game pretty much all down reorganized and got his passing back on point, and they didn't really very little running the ball, and they were playing catch up throughout that whole game and still managed to come back and win the game. So for likes of Tampa Bay, I think they were kind of forced to kind of rely more on Brady in that game. Because it's the playoffs. End of the day, it's like it's 1 and out. You either stay in or you go home.
But here's the question, I'm gonna throw it to whoever wants to take it. Is that down to coaching? Because Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl. He's a very, very capable coach, extremely capable, and he trusted his team to carry it out. Todd Bowles panicked.
It's too conservative, Todd Bowles, and it cost him his job at New York as well. Yep. So, I get it. He was pretty much the understudy to Bruce Arians and stuff like that. But I don't think Todd Bowles is really much of a head coach personally. I don't think. I've got friends who are Buccaneers fans. They're not really thrilled about Todd Bowles, etc. But I think it just got to the more desperation mode from him. Like Brady, you're a 7-time one of the greats of all time. Please help me, try and get me out of this situation, and it didn't work. So,
yeah, the one thing you could say is Tampa traditionally this season have been about a 70% passing team anyway. So, yeah, they abandoned the run quite quickly in this, but the stats weren't completely skewed anyway. But for Brady to throw 66 passes. And you could say that when we were 18-0 up, that was you're having to come back and try and you're having to try and pass yourself back in. But we've seen teams this year try and run the ball against us, and that's because we're always looking to take the quarterback down. That's why teams like Chicago have had success against us on the run. But I think Tampa just abandoned it straight away. So
see, that's a great comment from Tim. Like, they had the opportunity to go for it in 4th and 3. I think it was was it second half they did that or something?
Yep.
Yeah.
Third quarter. You see, where the end of the second quarter or early in the third. I can't remember whenabouts it was, but they were more than capable of going for it. They could have easily gotten those 3 yards potentially, but coaching just decided to pull off, and you can see Tom Brady was not happy about it. So,
yeah. So the other player we had kind of mentioned that we said we'd give a bit of love to, our new boundary corner, our new CB2, Israel Mukwamu.
wow. I still remember. I still remember when he got drafted. He's like, I'm not going to this. I can't remember the word for word what he said, but he basically is like, he basically did the whole Tom Brady speech when he got drafted says like, you're going to be like, you're not going to regret drafting me, pretty much. And for him, what was he, a 6th round draft pick or something like that, Bakwamu?
Yeah.
Like he's developed. He's developing. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still things in McQuarrie's game he still needs to really tighten up a little bit. But man, like, that game, like, he was just off and fantastic. So if he can keep going in that projection, great.
I think when I was hosting one of the shows, I raised the question, could Mukwamu do more at corner? And the answer is absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you consider how low par Wright and Joseph have been, it's a pretty crowded safety room. So if you can move to corner and turn in a performance like that in the playoffs, then you might find yourself as a starter next year.
In fairness, Nashawn Wright's had good glimpses himself this season as well. He's had some good stellar performances in certain games. I think him and McQuarrie are kind of on the same boat. It's like they've got potential to be proper starters, but I think it's just more of just like keep continuing that development as time goes on.
Yeah, I think if we hadn't signed Xavier Rhodes earlier in the week, I think you might have seen that Nashawn Wright might have been active for this game. He wasn't active last night. He was on the inactives, and I know you guys were discussing, looking back in our chat on the group, that you were saying that, does this mean that it's their time's done? They're only at the end of year 2 for them, so they've still got another 2 years on contract.
Yeah.
Yes, next year's where they need to take the step up, but they're by no means. Kelvin Joseph has the bigger task to step up. I think Nashawn Wright was getting in. I think last week the whole Tyler Coyle experiment, the Mullen experiment as well. That limited the amount of plays that Nashawn Wright was on for, and I think that maybe set him back a little. But I mean, give them another option. They've got enough. They've now got things to work on and understand, get a better understanding of the game.
Yeah.
Next year's when you really need them to step up and play.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Lauren, 100%.
I don't think I've ever mentioned the fact I like a bit of safety play.
Never.
Malik Hooker, again, has shored up the back end of this defense.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. And can we just mention Tom Brady as a bit of a scumbag for what he tried to do in that game? Did you notice that he tried to do a 250 challenge?
The sliding kick, yeah.
That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. That was a 250 challenge like that. So for our friends in the States, or anyway familiar with soccer or football, as we call it, actual football, sorry, like a two-footed challenge is pretty much how would it's
wild,
blasphemy.
reckless.
It's wild, reckless, and blasphemy in terms of the sport and integrity. Like, and what Brady did was shocking. So I can understand from Brady's perspective, he was frustrated, but there was no need for him to do that. He could have caused serious injury and could have really hurt Malik Hooker by doing that.
Yeah,
and he didn't even get flagged for that.
Nope. You know, you can't even cover it up by saying, "Oh, he's a quarterback; he doesn't know how to tackle." That was just flat out wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong. I
don't care what position you play, you can't do that.
Yeah, you do not go off your feet in a game like that.
He's been playing the game long enough; he should know that.
Yeah. Lebarski has wrapped it up perfectly. Brady was running around like a maniac on that play. Someone needs to put the circus music to that clip.
Oh, the Benny Hill music.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's everything on the defensive side of the ball, gentlemen, is it?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, we've covered the two big positives from the game.
Yeah. So look, we have to allow a little bit of time, and I'd say we're probably going to go over the 2 hours, and Mike is going to kill us. But we do have to cover special teams, and I'm going to say this personally. I'm absolutely disgusted with the coverage that some of the mainstream media have given Brett Maher today.
Yeah.
In terms of Good Morning Football, in terms of PFT, and I think it was Kyle Brandt on Good Morning Football was saying, you know, he's just a guy. He's just a guy. He's a guy with a family who is trying to make a living. And yeah, he's bounced about. But Brett Maher was pretty close to an All-Pro this year and a Pro Bowl. He missed, what was it, 3-4 kicks in the regular season.
Yeah, 3 kicks regular season.
1 game for us. He kicked a 60-yard field goal that was called back and kicked it again.
Yep.
It's
he was what was it? It was 92% on field goal kicks, 94% extra points, and that includes the Matt Overton first snap that nobody was expecting. So you can't even put that on Maher. Everybody has a bad, as Dak says, everybody has a bad game. Dak's bad game was against the Commanders.
Yeah.
Came back and he responded. It's how you respond to adversity the next week. And
Maher did come back. He did get the extra point at some point. Like just that little extra bit of confidence. He did manage to get there, but don't get me wrong. Like, I don't know if it was just because what was at stake in this game. Like, I believe that was Maher's first proper playoff game. Am I wrong there? I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, like so, and Alyssa was just sums up perfectly. He just had a really bad day, just like Dak, and absolutely agreed. Because I mean, Maher's been like, we were so critical again with Maher coming into the team, and he's completely made every single one of us eat a humble pie throughout the whole season. And now, I'm just seeing the comment here. So the boss is saying, just the guys, see if the season they're feeling like Graham in the off season. Wow. I don't know how you feel about that one, Graham.
He's joined the show in 5 minutes. And he's managed to get a dig out in 5 minutes. That is once in a lifetime generational talent.
Oh, Lebarski. Oh, the comments are getting better every show for everybody.
But I mean, continuing on with Maher, I can understand why a lot of the media outlets are doing it, because all they're doing is playing up for the haters. Basically, they can't let the Cowboys have
all the credit,
a great divisional or a great playoff game and just leave it at that. They'll pick absolutely anything. It's cheap likes and views, and I get why they've done it. Listen, Brett Maher, that'll be water off the duck's back to Brett Maher. I wonder if he's seen any of it, to be perfectly honest, because the Cowboys will have media teams who
they'll have their agents controlling the social media as well.
Keep the noise out. I mean, do you think Dak goes on social media after every game? I doubt if Dak sees any of it.
Well, that was mentioned during the broadcast. I'm pretty sure Troy Aikman mentioned that. It's like Dak barely he only uses his social media just to do advertisements now. He doesn't really he doesn't engage with anybody or anything, and that's the way it should be. He should be there to kind of promote himself. He shouldn't have to justify himself there to fans or anything like that. So I think the more better players are off social media, the better. To be honest, because if they are so entwined and thinking about what fans are saying, it's just going to mentally break them, and they're not going to last long in this league at all.
I mean, it's like the year we drafted Taco Charlton ahead of TJ Watt. You know, the huge headline at the end of the season was, the Dallas Cowboys could have had TJ Watt at, when was it, 17? And my response to that was, yeah, well, you know what? So could the other 16 teams who drafted ahead of the Cowboys, but it doesn't make a headline if you go after the Browns at 14. You know, you've got to pick on America's team at 17. Forget about the other 16 teams that drafted ahead of the Cowboys. It's the Cowboys at 17 you have a dig at.
Yep.
Again, Graham, this goes back to our main point when it comes to the draft. It is a lottery. Prime example is Dak Prescott. All 32 teams, even ourselves, could have picked him up much earlier on than the 4th round. Much early on. If they know what Dak was capable of doing, the only thing that made them draw back was obviously off the field at the time when he was still at college, etc. But hey, the draft is a lottery. No one would expect. We didn't expect Taco Charlton to end up the way he did, and we didn't expect TJ Watt to end up the way he did in Pittsburgh. No one did. If everyone was so sure about it, he would have been a number 1 overall. It seemed was for Aaron Donald for the Rams. If everyone knew what Aaron Donald was capable of doing, he would have been number 1 overall.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and now potentially he's retired now as well.
Yeah, that's a bit of controversy.
I made the point because this came up. This flew in on Saturday night. Asante Samuel, and we drafted Kelvin Joseph.
Yeah, I tweeted that myself. To be fair,
as I made the point, right, 2 years ago we drafted CD Lamb. Justin Jefferson, I believe, was in the same class, wasn't he?
Yep. He spent after.
Oh, it was the one after.
I mean, no. He was 4 or 5 picks after us.
Yeah. But you don't hear anyone saying anything about the fact we didn't draft Justin Jefferson over CD Lamb. You know, so it is a lottery. You can't pick at every single pick that the Cowboys make. You could go back ad infinitum. As I kind of said it to you guys, that the Tony Dorsett pick, one of the picks we traded away, resulted in Joe Montana going to the 49ers. You don't know what you're giving up.
I always go back to the original. The guy with 7 Super Bowl rings was undrafted.
You know, 199. No, he was 199.
Oh,
he was
199.
Last pick in the 6th round.
198 opportunities went before Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mr. Irrelevant is starting in the playoffs.
Yeah. Who would have thought Brock Purdy, who we're going to be playing up against on this Sunday, is playing some really good football for the 49ers, who might actually replace Jimmy G and Trey Lance as the future. Who knows? So it just shows it's you could be a player from a smaller school and still be a starter. It just really depends on the work and the effort you put in, and not everything is always assured being a first-round draft pick. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing.
And he might have Tom Brady in his quarterback room next year.
Well, I mean, the other thing as well, you go back to the CD Lamb and Justin Jefferson, the other ones that were coming out that year that everybody was high on was Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy. Ruggs is now sitting in jail at the moment. Judy's been out of form. Didn't take to Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett's offensive game plan. It's all to do with the situation you're in more than anything else, and that's what makes it a crapshoot.
Yeah. I mean,
but to get back to Maher, no doubt Maher earned us a couple of wins during the season, and no one will feel worse about it than he will. And I know Dak was fired up on the sideline, but I mean, you saw it on the field. I mean, the camera doesn't tell lies. It zoomed in right in on his face because it wanted to get in his face. And
I thought it was very. I thought in a way, I thought it was quite distasteful from the broadcasting crew to do that. I thought that was pretty bad personally because. I mean, it's like as a player, like when you make a bad miss or make a bad play, you're gonna feel crap about it, and you're trying to think about the next one. But when you're getting national TV and broadcasting, the next thing you're gonna get bombarded on social media, and that you're gonna have that in the back of your mind, and it obviously must have played a massive factor as he obviously missed. Was it 4 field goals? Sorry, 4 extra points. But he did make one. No, he did make one. He redeemed himself. He came back. It was the last one. Sorry. He came back and still managed to make it. So he managed to get himself back into, get his mind straight and get back into it and actually executing. So as long as he can continue to learn from that and move on, I'm okay with it. As long as we can, I'm okay with it.
Seen a couple of comments, the 49ers game could be decided by a field goal. And I wanted to write back, but I thought, no, these guys are fired up. I'm just going to leave it. The 49ers game could be decided by a whole list of missed opportunities. It's not just down to Brett Maher.
Yeah, absolutely
agree.
I think that the most encouraging thing was last night, Brett Maher came out and took accountability for what happened. He didn't try and hide. He didn't go and put himself in the corner. He came out and said, "It's on me. I'm taking the blame here, and I will work on this." And that's what he needs is the team to get around him this week and just boost his confidence, boost him up a little bit, help him through it. Because I think I saw. I don't know if it was Bobby Belt, if it was Michael Gelkin, say on Twitter last night that he kicked 15 to 17 field goals in the warm-ups.
Yeah, I think it was Bob because he was actually on the sideline. So
maybe 58-62 were the only misses he had.
Yeah, so, shout out to Bobby Belt, man. Guy's a legend.
Yeah. But look, we have gone for 2 hours. Mike is going to kill us, so let's wrap it up and go home. So I will throw it over. Paul, do the shout out.
Yes, guys, if you're planning going to a Dallas Cowboys game next season, be sure to go with Cowboys Experience for meet and greets, stadium tours, game tickets, the ultimate tailgating experience, and much, much more. Get to meet players like Drew Pearson, Micah Parsons, Jay Novacek, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, and many, many more. And when we do say these guys will treat you like you absolute royalty, we mean that. Me and Jamie and a few of the other guys have used Cowboys Experience in the past, and honestly, they're literally like family to us. So, and we're honored to have them sponsor our show. So, guys, be sure to go to cowboysexperience.com and take full use of our discount code of UK Cowboys. And guys, what do you get when you use the discount code?
You
free
get
stuff.
free stuff.
You get free
And
stuff.
chocolate pudding.
And chocolate pudding.
Lauren, give a shout out to our fellow friends.
Yeah, so make sure you check out these guys on our Ring of Honor. Whether it's Talking Cowboys, Hanging with the Boys, Blogging the Boys with our own Paul and Meg Murray, Jeff Kavanagh, Law Nation, J Tuck, Pick Six Sports, Skywalker Steel, KT's Funhouse. Just go and listen to these guys. I'm constantly listening to all of these podcasts every day. I'm now up to double speed to listen to half of them. So.
And honestly, guys, listen to these guys more than you do the mainstream media, because you're going to get more proper analysis, more in-depth talks about our team than you will actually get in the mainstream media. So follow your Dallas Cowboys content creators, guys. You won't be disappointed.
Graham, give us the final shout out for the big event of 2023 outside of the Super Bowl.
So if you're looking to go to the 2022 Super Bowl, shouldn't have said that. If you're looking to go and see our Dallas Cowboys in the great state of Texas, make sure you keep your eye out for the Dallas 2023 travel package, which we're working on with Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys Experience. Make sure you join the Facebook group to know about it first. It's game tickets, tours, meet and greets, and there'll be one or two extras thrown in there. We're not quite confirmed just yet, but make sure you get yourself sorted if you are going to a game next year to see the Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboy experience. It will be absolutely superb.
Just to mention as well, just a big shout out to everybody that's in the chat right now. You've got Joe from Italy, and likes the interaction on Twitter. Last night we had the guys from the Cowboys fans from Germany, from Spain, and stuff, etc., all interacting all across Twitter as well. So big shout out to not only just people within the UK, but all Cowboys fans across the world. So this is why we keep saying it's not just America's team; it is the world's team.
Yeah. And I'm going to give a shout out to everyone in Ireland. There's only one or two of us.
That's more than that, my friend. That's more than that.
But Graham, the most important thing about the travel package, who's the most important meet and greet that these people are going to have?
Well,
I was going to say the Vince Lombardi Trophy, but that's up to you guys.
Good. Well, it's up to us as well, because we're all going. We're all going, guys. So, so we'll keep you up to date. What game we're planning going to? You want to come back if you're in the States and you want to come back and hang out with us? Then great. And I don't know why you're playing this tranquil music all of a sudden. What the hell is that all about? I feel like I'm going to sleep.
It's time for all of us to go asleep. It is past 11 o'clock here in the UK and Ireland.
My goodness. Oh, dear.
It is a good night for me. Thank you very much, everybody.
I'm definitely saying my lullabies right now. Night.
Night. Right, guys. See you guys Thursday for the pre-game show.
See you Thursday.
We do realise we've got one more game left to play, at least.